What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Around the Campfire. I have my buddy on here, Gabriel Casetta, which I'm really excited to interview. He's a biohacker, a healer, and a self-development coach. We actually talked maybe early last summer. And I remember you came to me and you did an Alpha Up consultation, and it was a good chat. I remember you were just like a go-getter, Gabriel, and yeah, and then we didn't talk for a while, and we'd ping in here and there, and then all of a sudden I was just on your podcast this last week, and we were talking. I was like, dude, this guy is like rapidly like grown. Like you've gone after it. You were kind of stuck in a bad place when we were talking, and now you've turned it all around, and like now you're helping guys. Now you're doing a coach. I'm like, dude, this is what I'm trying to get guys to do. So after we talked, I was like, I have to have you on the podcast and kind of just talk about your story so that other guys that are like, you know, maybe in a bad place right now, or they're thinking about starting their brand and stuff, like, how does someone go about doing that? So first of all, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on here, man. And dude, let's catch up.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm super honored. And yeah, it's so funny that, you know, you were on my podcast and now I'm on yours. So it's pretty cool. And if anybody does want to see our other podcasts, they can actually go to YouTube. And if they
drop your YouTube.
Selfless plug, we both benefit from it. If they go if they go on YouTube and they look for AQ Adaptive Intelligence, or if they search for @AQ Adaptive Intelligence, they can find our entire hub there. But yeah, man, like you're right. I was totally in a dark place when I first met up with you and we talked. It was kind of like a struggle because I had, you know, with the whole COVID thing, like just starting, like it kind of like threw off everything. Like I had like this whole plan, like I was going to go and I was going to become a chiropractor and I was going to, you know, do chiropractic stuff and, you know, and then COVID happened and then like all this crazy like drama stuff with my former school happened. And, you know, I kind of like reached the point to where I realized I was like, you know, the part of the reason why I went into why I wanted to go into the chiropractic field was because the medical profession, which is where I started at, was very corrupt. And then so, you know, I go through all these years of schooling for chiropractic, and then I realized that's corrupt too. And I'm like,
how
my God, like.
So let's back up a second for people that haven't like gone through the medical field or whatnot. How do you feel that it's corrupt? You know, like what made you kind of shocked to take a step back or pivot?
Yeah, so this goes back to my earlier years. So I first got into the healthcare field in general because I wanted to help people. You know, I had gone to a mission trip actually to Jamaica, and it was like I was in the slums of Jamaica, very young. I was like 17 years old. My parents were like, "No, don't go." And I was like, "I have to do this, right?" So totally going against the grain, but. That trip like changed my life because I got to stay in the slums of Jamaica, and I met up with some monks there, like some Catholic monks, and they were like literally like the coolest dudes I'd ever met. They were all young, like they were like in their 20s, and they had sworn like an oath of poverty, like their whole life would be dedicated to helping the poor on the streets of Jamaica. Right? Yeah. Like the only thing that they were, I know, right? The only thing that they were allowed to own was one tunic and one pair of sandals. That's it. And this one sucks too, right? Like they had to like be abstinent. So like, dude, like that's
the one thing. Like I can't, like, I love sex too much. I can't give it up to priesthood. I don't know. I love meditation though. Like meditation's a strong second, and it's probably more valuable than sex. But like still, man, that's a tough like vow to give that up.
exactly. But so like these dudes were awesome though. Like. Because like they treated everyone like the way you would think like a Christian should act, you know, like they were nice to everybody, they loved everybody, they actually did the things that like Jesus would do and like help the poor, you know, like I've never seen a more pure form of like
Christianity,
Christianity or just faith in general, right? Like they just loved everybody. So that was a really good environment, and you know, like I was just like in this place where my heart was just like, I want to help these people, not just the people that are poor, but also the people that are serving them, right?
Yeah, because they're poor too, or they're not into like riches or material possessions. So.
Yeah, they're like super poor themselves because like that's what they chose, you know, like they left their families, they left their girlfriends, they left everything to go.
Is that the is that the smartest way to go about it, you think? Or do they have like support like from other people that like donate to their work?
They're basically the donations come from like churches usually, and they'll donate to
Okay.
food for the poor. So
Okay.
then they have like their own little like enclaves. So like this is the way they would live, right? So they would wake up every morning, they would pray, they would eat, and then they would go out to all these different centers all throughout Jamaica.
Mm.
And well, one of the centers, actually, a person there who was actually a person that was being taken care of, they
Mm.
remembered Mother Teresa showing up there one time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I got to like hear stories of when Mother Teresa showed up, and like how amazing that was, and how cool she was. And
Mm.
like, so basically, like I did all sorts of things. Like I helped people with AIDS and babies that were abandoned. Literally, like
Wow.
people in Jamaica are so poor that they can't feed the kids, so they just like throw them in the trash.
Wow.
And so I was in this room full of babies that had no parents, and
So
like I
how
was
did
tending to them, caring for them.
being in that scenario, that situation, and how long were you in Jamaica for?
This was for about like 2 weeks, so it wasn't
Two
incredibly
weeks.
long, but it
Okay.
was long enough for it to really impact my life.
Yeah, because it was
Um,
such a sounds like such a culture shock. So
hmm hmm
how did that change you coming back to like America, like with your mindset or your view of the world?
Yeah. So when before I left, they were all saying like, "Oh, like don't go, stay here." I was like, "Yeah, well, they kind of
Mm,
expected me to show up,
yeah.
can't just disappear." But like that left something in my heart, and that was that I want to go back one day
Mm,
and really be able to have the tools, really have actually even the faith to be able to help them.
mm,
Because like a lot of healing itself it, you can kind of say there's a psychological aspect to it, where if
okay.
you are missing that psychological component, it's
Hmm.
not going to work. Like,
Mm,
and this goes into like
yeah.
quantum physics and all the stuff that some people might consider woo woo, which in that time I would have considered it woo woo,
Well,
but
I
now.
think like rituals, like you think of a ritual or like you can take a like a wedding or something like that, or like the flag salute, or even like mystical rituals. That why there's kind of weird and they stick out to grab attention is to so it wires into your subconscious. Like
Yes,
so it
yes.
makes that connection as an event, a date, a wedding, like and so it's kind of wired into you through all the symbolism and whatnot.
Yeah, it sets the tone for the mind to be in the right state, because that's
Yeah,
where the magic happens, is when the mind is in the right state.
right. It opens it. Yeah,
Right.
interesting.
So anyways, so I went back home, and I was like, I got to figure out ways to help people, because I want to go back and be able to like give them that, give them the thing they need.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I went. I was young, and I was like, maybe it's the medical way. So I went, and I worked. I did a bunch of like medical studying. So I did my undergrad of Bachelor of Science in Biology, got that done,
Mm,
and then was about to go into medical school. But before that, I was like, oh, let me do some paramedic work. So I got
mm,
trained in being a paramedic, and then I went out and I did that for a year. I also was a pharmacy technician. I was a
nice.
caregiver. I was a CNA, which is like basically like a nurse,
Yeah.
nurse's assistant there. Like, so I did it all except for, be a doctor.
Right.
So I figured, that was the next logical step. So I was like, but see, at the same time, I was within the medical field. I had spent so much time there,
Uh-huh.
and I just kept seeing people get sicker and dying instead of them actually getting better. I
Ah,
was like, wait a minute. I got into this to find the right tools to get people better, but
right.
all I'm seeing is death and people getting worse. Like, that's not the result I got into this for.
Yeah.
So I kind of had a bit of soul searching there.
Hmm.
And so basically I started to look into other things, like stuff that most medical professionals will be like, oh, that's just crazy talk, that's nonsense. But I was like, I don't know, people are saying that this works. So I started to investigate it. I started to investigate with research,
Yeah.
what kind of results people actually get. And it was around
What
that
were
time.
you researching? Like what was the medicine or whatever?
So the first one was actually nutrition, and there's
Okay.
a really good doctor called Dr. Michael Greger, who's actually a hero of mine. And I actually had the pleasure of meeting him one day, just totally like by chance, or maybe not chance, I don't know,
Yeah.
but it was amazing that I just like bumped into him like that.
Hmm.
But so I started to look into his materials. So his stuff is nutritionfacts.org, and he's
Okay.
got really great videos on like nutrition and people getting better and like healing all these different things just by changing up what they eat, right?
Okay.
So that got me started on this whole like, I also had migraines at the time, and I was like, man, how do I get rid of these migraines? Because I had to like pill pop every single day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I changed my diet. Diet was working great. I was losing weight. You know, my body was feeling cleaner, but I still had like these migraines going on. I was like, man, I got to figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I can't keep popping all these pills because it's going to kill my liver. So, so I started to like investigate, you know, things that other people would consider woo woo too. So, basically like binaural beats and isochronic tones.
Yeah.
I started using
Yeah,
that
I love
stuff,
that
and
stuff.
oh my god, man! Like, but see now that's like now it's like I was inching closer and closer to the mind, right?
Gotcha.
Inching
Yeah.
closer and closer to what actually works.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I discovered something called chiropractic, and I was like,
So let's
wow,
take a step
what is
back
this thing?
because I'm a fan of binaural beats and I use them like
Yeah.
daily. So what ones did you use and do they get rid of your migraines or like what happened?
So it didn't completely get rid of them, but it reduced them
Okay.
significantly.
Okay. It helps
Um,
me with overthinking and like my ADD and whatnot. Like I'll do the alpha brain waves and that'll keep me focused. Even if I'm like anxious and stressed,
mhm.
I can still be in like a decision making mode. Because sometimes you just like you don't have time to go meditate or like self care. Like it's best to go self care, right? They're like self care, love yourself, and
Mhm.
you should go do that. But like sometimes you just don't have time because you have a lot of shit that to get done. So I just found if I like walked with the alpha brain waves that it will keep me chill enough where I can make decisions and still be present when I need to be present.
Yeah, and that's actually what helped me get through like the majority of like chiropractic school, because I went
Really?
through all
Yeah.
of that, and like, man, that's intense. It's like you really
Yeah.
got to study your ass off.
Mm.
And so it's like not only is it a lot of stress, but you also need to be focused, right? So
Yeah.
when I was like in there, like studying constantly, learning about neurology and how the brain works and how the body, you know, functions because it's controlled by the brain, right? So it has all these
Mm-hmm.
nerves that go to every single little part of your body. Um, that's when I was like, you know, so overwhelmed with like trying to understand all this stuff that
Mm.
I started to use binaural beats and isochronic tones just to be able to like focus, right? Just to be able to focus
Yeah.
and study like so much. So
What other frequencies do you use aside from like the binaural beats or the alpha frequencies? Do you use any of the like Solfago frequencies, like the 528 hertz or
yeah, I've tried the. I think it was the one that's like the Earth one.
okay.
I think it's like I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to look into my little collection. I have like a
Yeah.
YouTube playlist of them.
528
Um,
hertz was interesting. I found that one by accident, but it's supposed to be like the frequency of love or like how the wind and
yeah,
most
I've
of the
used that
universe
one.
moves. So
Yeah,
that
I've
one's
used
kind of
that one.
cool. And
Hmm.
then I like 417 hertz, which that one's good. And that one like just removes negative energy. So whenever I'm like stressed or I feel tense, I'll listen to that and that'll just kind of like clear my like vibe if I'm like really under the gun.
Yeah, when I was really deep into to sounds, I would research because there's a lot of research that shows like different brain patterns of like, you
Mm.
know, where a genius would be, because I'm fascinated by geniuses.
Yeah, same.
Geniuses and billionaires, like those are
Yeah,
like I study them. You know, I
fuck
study
yeah.
what they do, and like I study the science behind like people that have studied them. So I
That's
study
awesome.
like all of that whole package. And one of the things that the research that I found showed was that like when somebody's like in a genius flow or like a flow state of mind, they're
Mm.
in their theta. They're in theta brainwave
I was just going to
states.
bring that up because I've been starting to research that. So, what is theta and how does that work? It like makes your mind more open, yeah. And so, like, if you're learning something, like I don't know, you're
So yeah, they call it the genius frequency. So, and you
okay,
can find lots of like different videos on YouTube to like that has that frequency. So
right?
I would use like the alpha when I wanted to be more awake and alert.
Okay,
Um, Beta is good for like a calm studying. Theta
okay,
is more of like kind of bringing it all together and like bringing new ideas. Um, and then, you
gotcha.
know, like delta is like deep sleep, so you're just kind of like knocked out. But which is good for sleep. So if you need good
Yeah,
sleep, highly recommend that. Um, here's somebody in the background. Maybe we got
yeah,
fans.
yeah. Nah,
uh,
sorry, it's a little loud here.
that's all
It'll
good.
pass though.
Yeah. So so basically, you know, I was using theta a lot. And then so I was studying a lot of research on the brain and neurology while, you
Hmm.
know, while I was in this chiropractic school.
Okay.
Um, and so then like, you know, I was going through all that, and then basically I started to like see the dark side of that profession a lot. I won't go into
Mm.
details, but um, I well, not only that, but I also started to see like this other branch that was kind of like secluded from that profession, that they were getting awesome results, but they were ostracized, right? Because like the stuff they did looked weird,
And
basically. But it
what was that niche?
so that niche was called network spinal. which is
Okay.
like a subset of chiropractic or a part of chiropractic.
Okay.
And that was the one thing that I tried, because I tried all the different chiropractic techniques.
Wow.
But when I got to that one got rid of my migraines, and I was
Oh,
like,
nice.
whoa, okay. Because when I first saw it though, it looked very weird. It's like, so there's like a dude and he barely touches you, and like your body does this wave thing, and then like
Mm.
your mind clears up and your body feels great, and all the aches and pains that you had before are gone. You're like, what the hell is going on here, right? But
Yeah.
see, that's getting even closer to the brain and to neurology. So
Okay.
I started to go deep into like, okay, why does this work? Because I thought it was BS, but
Yeah.
it's getting great results not just on me, but like on other people that I see around me. And then also I was bringing other people to get this care, and they
Mm.
were getting awesome results. So I was like, I need to master this. So
Okay.
not only did I get care enough for like many years and many sessions, I started to learn it myself and I started to apply it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
So
so what was the shift between learning this stuff, coming this together? Sounds like 2019 or so, like right, like before 2020, because 2020 seems like when you made a shift to what you're doing now.
yeah, so this was more like when I found that out, that was like 2016.
Okay, wow.
Um,
So that was like 4 years ago or so.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
5 years
I've
ago.
spent quite a while trying to figure this all
Nice.
out, because like I said, like when you first see it, it looks very woo woo, but
Right.
there's so much research behind it.
Yeah.
It's
So you got
incredible.
all
It's
the
like the most
biology
researched thing.
education
Yeah,
to back it up.
absolutely,
Cool.
absolutely. So so then I was like, wow, this is really powerful. But I started to also get into other things too, like I started to read a lot of books. So
Hmm.
like Think and Grow Rich, and there's another book called The Field, and like
Mm.
all these other books that basically focused on consciousness, right? And consciousness being the main thing that really affects the entirety of all of what we think is reality.
Yeah.
So this was a large leap for me, because I was trying to understand why this thing was working, and then it kind of led me into this like whole other realm that I didn't know existed. It's kind
Right.
of like you ever seen the movie Doctor Strange?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good
So
movie.
love that movie, but it's a perfect like really and rendition of like how I felt when I found this
Right.
stuff,
I see what you're saying.
because
Like his
you know
journey, like when he goes in the medical field, he reaches the top,
yeah,
and then there's this whole
exactly.
other like ocean of like spiritual medicine and whatnot that he had knew nothing about.
Yeah, like he gets his whole mind blown, and that's
Right.
exactly how I felt. I was like, this makes no sense. Teach me. So I learned as much as I could, and there was other techniques too that were similar, but
Okay.
just like a little bit different. So I would learn those too, and then like I brought that together, and I started to like explore even deeper, right? So I started to like get into shamanism, which
Nice. Yeah.
that is like so much neurology in there as well.
Mm.
But they do it through a different way. So instead of like affecting your body through neurology, they affect your chemistry, like
Mm.
using like different herbs and plants. And so when I was in the
Interesting.
dark place, when I had realized that like this, not the sect that I found was really good in chiropractic, but the other sect, which is the
Uh-huh.
majority, that they were corrupt.
Uh,
Um, when I found that out, I was like, okay, I need to figure something out, because I don't want to be a part of something that is corrupt, obviously. Like,
right.
I wouldn't feel good about it. So I was kind of like soul searching. Corona happened, COVID and all the lockdowns. And I was like, great, now I'm just like stuck at home. I can't do anything with my life. And it sucks. I had plans of like, finishing, being a chiropractor and doing
Hmm.
this, having like an office and all that, doing the typical things. But then
Hmm.
I realized, I was like, I know so much at this point that I would have to make something beyond that.
Mm. Yep.
So and the reason I actually found that out was because I went to a shaman retreat,
Okay.
and I don't know if you've ever tried this, but there's actually a plant medicine called ayahuasca.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you've
Yeah.
heard of it, right?
Yeah.
So prior to that, I was in that dark place where I was like, I don't know where my life is going at this point. I thought I had it all planned out, like to the letter, to the T. I had like a huge business plan, like the size of like an old phone book, right? And
Right.
now all of that is useless to me because of all this COVID stuff and
Hmm.
all the stuff that I found out about both the medical and the chiropractic profession. That I was like, the old systems are broken.
Yep.
And ayahuasca helped me see that the old systems are broken, and
Yeah. That's
you
awesome.
know meanwhile there's like all these other types of healers that are working outside these like
Right.
these centralized authoritarian, enclaves of power,
Mm-hmm.
that, there's healers away from that are doing great things for people.
Mm-hmm.
And, but the inner scientist of me said, I want to explore that, but I also want to include all the things that I know of science into this field.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's smart. That's
So
really smart.
that's why I developed something called NeuroHealing, which
Hmm.
actually uses the biometrics. So like I can read EEGs, right? I
Okay.
can measure heart rates, pulse ox. I can see how your oxygenation is going on, is doing. Like all sorts of like these different technological measures I can apply to the types of healing that I've learned. Whether, and that can be anything, whether it's Reiki or,
Mm-hmm.
if you did want to do chiropractic, you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, if you literally like any kind, like you could even do that with meditation, like I know you love
Yeah.
meditation. I love meditation too.
Yeah.
And it's got me very far in my journey, and I still come back to it. Um, like
So
with
what
all
made
these
you
different things.
decide to start your own company? Adapt. What is your company name again? I'm sorry, drawing a blank.
Yeah. So the company's named Adaptive Intelligence,
Adaptive
and
intelligence. Yeah. What made you decide that? Okay, I got to go create adaptive intelligence.
that actually came after the ayahuasca,
Okay.
because
Okay. Yeah.
I saw like the old systems are broken and they
Yeah.
need to be, you can't replace the old systems. The old systems will always be there.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a really good quote that says, "Don't focus on fixing the old systems. Focus on creating the new." Right.
Yeah.
So I wanted something better, something that got the results. That's what I'm focused on, is the results,
Good.
versus these other things that are more like um, centralized. There's a lot of politics involved, and a lot
Yeah.
of drama, and a lot of like corrupt things that happen.
Yeah.
And that's why I think there's a large push, not just in the world, but even like things like crypto. It's like it's trying to like
Yes.
get more decentralized, right? Because
Yeah.
it understands that whenever you centralize power in one place,
Mm-hmm.
shit's gonna go wrong.
Dude,
You know,
this
and
is
that.
so awesome, like having this conversation because I haven't really shared this too much because I haven't like found anyone that really like thinks on this level. But I've had
Mhm.
visions like this too. I didn't take ayahuasca, but I had an LSD trip maybe like last October, and like shit was just going to go down. It was kind of a scary fucking vision. I just was just sent like this vision, like things are going to be good, like there's a new age forming, but there's a
Yeah.
lot that's going to be collapsing, and I just felt like
Yes.
the pain and the suffering that's happening. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be big. I was talking to my ex about it one day, and
Hmm.
then what was it? Then 2020 fucking happened, and I was like, oh shit.
Right.
I was like, this is it. I was like, this is it.
Hmm.
I didn't know what it was going to look like, but this is it. And then like I've had sometimes when I smoke weed, it actually hits my third eye, and I'll have like a
Hmm.
DMT trip, and I have like these
Hmm.
crazy visions. And like one of like Mother Nature always calls out to me. Mother Nature's just like, I'm dying. Like dude, you got to step it up and
Yeah.
like help me out here. So I've been like changing my habits and shit like that. So it's crazy, but it's fucking obnoxious too. Cause I mean, you study geniuses and these people like
Hmm.
Tesla and Da Vinci see
Yes.
way into the future, and they were doing shit that like you and I are doing, like chasing their almost like some people call it chasing your bliss, but like following their intuition and just going into these pools of new knowledge and seeing the gaps and then seeing where they could add to it and whatnot. And then that gives you vision where you see way into the future and start
Hmm.
predicting and being like, okay, what problems can I solve with my abilities? So that's why I give you major props for doing what you're doing, man. Like keep it going. Because
Thank you. Yeah.
a lot of people don't see this shit or they don't take it seriously right now. And you have to realize like for the solution to be in play, it could take 5 or 10 years for your solution that you're starting out to make a shift that
Hmm.
actually like changes something big enough. Like the impact has to start now, even though it may be small, but you got to start to cause that ripple out. So,
Absolutely, absolutely, and actually, that was part of the reason why I started AQ, is
fuck yeah.
because I studied geniuses so much that I was
Yeah,
like, I need
same.
to figure out how to become a genius,
Yes.
right?
You
And
just
then so
assume the role. Like you just assume you're like,
yes,
okay, genius. Like Da Vinci wasn't walking around like being like, am I a genius yet or not? No, he just fucking did the fucking habits that he did, and they all study each other. It's like great
yeah,
war commanders too. Like Julius Caesar studied Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great looked up
hmm,
to mythical gods, and then like
hmm,
Napoleon Bonaparte studied them. And the same
hmm,
thing with geniuses too. It's just like you take from the past and see what they learned, and maybe even some of the visions they saw of what could go wrong, and seeing like where you are and how you can take the reins now. What's cool
Yeah.
though.
So my vision
Go ahead.
for
Yeah.
like adaptive intelligence and
Yeah.
like for the reason why I developed neurohealing, it became very clear to me. I want to help people become their own genius. Like
Yes.
that is
Fuck
what I've
yes.
studied. You know,
Fuck
that's so
yes.
I'm so that's why I'm a biohacker. I help people biohack to their fullest potential.
That's
I
awesome,
help them
man.
see that they actually can become a genius and how to do that.
Okay.
And then how to measure their progress of like, okay, this is how your body's reacting to this.
So
This is good. This is a
what
good sign.
what is like a quick tip that you can share, something that you teach some of your clients or guys that you work with, or that you found personally that has helped you tap into your genius?
Many things. It's difficult to point to just
Right.
one. And that's why I created AQ, because it's so much information
Okay.
that it's not just like one tip and then suddenly you're a
Yeah.
genius. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's like this these multiple factors that all have to come together,
And it's like sets of
and then
habits.
boom.
Would you say it's like sets of habits that you have to use that like compound off of each other, or?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Basically, it's like compounding habits that affect your neurology in a positive way,
Gotcha.
and then you can actually track that. You can track that with biometrics.
Cool.
And so then you have like the scientific technological tool, and then you have these things that people like have no clue about, that actually further not only your evolution, like, you know, with your consciousness, but also your neurology,
Whoa.
your brain, how smart you are, what you create.
Yeah.
You know, like all these things that actually have a direct effect on how good your life is. If you don't master that,
Right.
your life's going to be shit. You
Yeah.
know, just plain and simple. But if you do master that, see, this is the kind of stuff that Tony Robbins talks about all the time. And I'm sure you know who Tony Robbins is.
Yep.
And Napoleon Hill even talks about it in his book, Think and Grow Rich. You know, you have to be willing to biohack yourself to get yourself to become the best version of you.
Right.
And not everybody knows how to do that, and not everybody has the time to study that. But that's why I help them condense all those decades of research and knowledge into, you know, days.
Yeah.
And that's why I host
awesome.
healing retreats. So I actually have healing retreats where not only do I provide my own healing, but I have other healing practitioners all come in and then serve the people that show up. Right. So you get multiple types of healing, and the entirety of all that, not only does it help your body, but it helps your mind, it helps your brain.
That's awesome.
It even goes as far as to say it can even help your soul, because
Yeah.
you're going to be healing from so many things.
Agreed.
Like, and that once all the baggage is gone, then your genius starts to come out.
Yeah, I've been starting to say it in my content, is like connecting to your true self, and that's what I've just found on my personal journey, and then how I've helped guys. And it sounds like you kind of discovered that yourself too. Is like once you heal those wounds, you realize that you were kind of caught in a web of certain habits that were based on an illusion, and then once you see past that illusion, you can kind of center yourself, and that's your true self, where I feel like that's where you're connected to your soul. And I call that like your king, and that's your inner authority, where everyone's trying to get that connection because they feel disconnected to it. And they're trying to do it outwardly with like money or status and whatnot, because that'll do it a little bit because you have feel good chemicals in your brain, but it's not going to be that true self that's lasting. And then even when you're going through adversity or whatever, you're still connected to that. And I think that's what genius is. I think that's like a Da Vinci or Tesla. They didn't maybe have, I mean, a lot of them had horrible, like broke beginnings, and like, or they were like, you know, abused at home. They had bad upbringings and whatnot, but they were somehow connected into that intuition and that true self. And then they made like amazing bodies of work that are just unreal. Like it's just out of this world.
And a large part of that is that they were able to tap into something larger than themselves.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Tesla even talks about this. He says, he basically, I'm trying to summarize the quote exactly, but he says something along the lines of, he believes that there's this central core of knowledge from where all knowledge comes from. He's like, and he said he hasn't gotten to the core of it, but he's kind of tapped into it a little bit. And that's where all his genius comes from. It's something that you need to tune into. But in order to do that, your physical state needs to be at a certain level. You know, it's like, you can't expect your body to run a marathon if you've never trained.
Right.
You know, but you can do the same thing with your mind.
And I think we all kind of do it in some way or another. Even that's like where music talks about, like when you talk about that, it reminds me of the book, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. And he kind of talks about like a fifth dimension or like a higher playing field where all creativity is. And then someone like Mozart is just like he's the one that sits down and like does that work every day, where he's in front of the piano every day. So that song kind of like, it's like catching thunder in a bottle, like where it gets tapped into him and he chooses to write it. I feel like we all kind of do that. And I mean, I've even done that with like digital product ideas, where I've had a dope ass like dating digital product, and maybe I didn't have the resources, or I don't know, the confidence at the time, and I saw someone else come out with it and I was like, what the fuck? But it's like we're all tapped into that, and just whoever is willing to pull the trigger and do what it takes to manifest that kind of gets that out first. You know, and you see geniuses like Tesla and stuff like that. That's what they do. Like, that's why I love Elon Musk so much, is he sees a
I know.
He sees a fucking problem and is like, okay, no one else is doing it. Well, fuck it. I'm going to be the first one that does it, and I'm going to bring the solution to the elixir to the people. And even Kanye West talks about that too. It's just like, you're connected into that realm. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And that actually, Elon's one of my biggest heroes as well.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I moved to Silicon Valley. I was like, trying to figure out, how did he do it? You know, how did he do it? Because like, he was just some kid in South Africa, and like nobody knew who he was. And now all of a sudden he's the richest man in the world. And like, he's one of my favorite people to study.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you would never expect him to be as much of a genius as he actually is. But he has something that's very important, in which you touched on. It's he has vision.
Yes.
Vision is so important. And actually, even the Bible, it says, without the vision, the people perish.
So how would you define vision to maybe someone who like hasn't thought about, like, what is vision? What does it mean to be a visionary?
I would say vision is seeing beyond yourself so far that it includes and encompasses all of humanity.
Yes.
You know, I consider myself a humanist.
Yes.
I don't like many labels, but if there is one label that I will ascribe to, it's a humanist.
You see us as one big tribe, like our whole, yeah.
I see the potential of every human life.
Right.
And that potential is great, because that potential compounds with every passing generation.
Right.
You know, think of when, you know, they discovered fire, and think of how far it's gotten us now, or the wheel, or, you know, any invention, and how it compounds with time, and then you can add more inventions to that, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's this momentum, right? So there's important pieces in humanity's history, and those are usually the ones that are the geniuses, the ones that make the impact, or how Steve Jobs would say, it's usually the ones that are crazy enough to think they can make a difference in the world. Yeah. That are the ones that do.
I was going to say it's the outsiders too. Usually the ones that are isolated, you know, like, I mean, Elon Musk, a lot of those guys, they have the thing of usually being like a loner. They're like a lone wolf. They spend all their time in a fucking library. So they get smart really quick. And that kind of evolves them to getting, it's kind of like what's that word? They bypassed all the social games just because they weren't accepted into them anyways. But then they started seeing the bigger issues that people are so not focused on, because they're so busy playing these social games of status or whatever it is, and not looking at the bigger picture or taking it seriously.
Right. And actually, it's a good point you make too, because like, you know, you can try to play the status game, but, you know, girls are very adept at knowing when you're faking.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so that's not going to work. The best solution is actually to become somebody of value, like real value, not just perceived value. Not, oh, look, I got a Lambo. Yeah. Oh, actually, I rented it.
Yeah.
You know, like, no, it's like, if you're actually of real value to society and to the, you know, all of humanity, that is far more important, not just for your own life, but for, like, if you're trying to attract a girl or whatever, you know, like, that's just the cherry on top.
Well, and once people catch on to the game of what is like, oh, all I have to do is wear a suit and do this, and then I get A, B, and C, woman, date, sex, whatever, like, and everyone catches on to that, then that's not cachet enough. Then it always has to go a level higher. Whereas if you just make yourself indispensable, where you just are valued just by how you look at the world, and it's different, so no one can copy you that quickly, then you become your own authority, you're your own, I put it as like self-authority, which creates status in itself, because you have the behaviors of someone with status. Like, your brain is operating at that level.
Right. Yeah. And I believe that's part of like what drives humanity to evolve, is like, if you can see that there's like this push for like a more intelligent, you know, better looking, charming person to exist. And then that's like the alpha, right? You can actually see that when you study like primates. It's like, you kind of have to be smart too.
Yeah.
You can't just be like all muscle, because that only gets you so far, especially now that we're living in an age where, you know,
Right.
a little dude can beat up a big dude if he just has a
Well,
gun in
dude,
his
that was
hand.
the whole ethos behind Conscious Alpha was like intuitive. I was like, I want to help train like highly intuitive men or even empaths because they're like
Mm-hmm.
guys that are more feeling and emotion, which makes them very adept and very quick to grasp things, but might make them a little soft in other reasons too, where they need to like toughen up. But yeah, like those, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
those are the people that are going to be solving our biggest problems just because they're designed that way. Like if you actually tap into your intuition and decide to think in big terms to be a humanist and build something and build a company or whatnot, yeah, then you have made yourself a leader among men. Like you are an intuitive leader because you are aware of the bigger
Mm-hmm.
dangers that could fuck us up.
Exactly. And it goes beyond that too, you know, because it's not just for like having, you know, the social
Status, yeah,
renown for, yeah, the status. It actually gives meaning to your
right,
life, you know. Like
right.
I think part of the reason why Elon does what he does, he doesn't care about money anymore.
No,
He cares about, you know, like his dream, you know, his dream is to go to Mars, to
right,
colonize Mars. Like that's a noble
yeah,
pursuit. You know, you just have to find what pursuit is noble for you,
yes,
right?
yes,
And so like become a genius in that
mm-hmm.
area. And so the beauty of what I do is that I help people become a genius in their area, no matter what it is. Like
Nice,
I can just turn anybody into a genius, and then they can do whatever they're going to do to make the world a better place, and they can go and do that very
yeah,
effectively. So that's why I started AQ. That's why I started these healing retreats, is because I saw that beyond just me being a person that goes back, you know, a couple of years down the road and
uh-huh.
helps these monks out and the poor people there, like that's great. But there's so much more potential
Yes,
now that I see. Like if we can make everybody geniuses, the world would be a better place, because now they're gonna think on a higher
yes,
level. They're not gonna think just, oh, me. They're gonna
yep,
think, oh, we're all in this
yeah.
together. We're all on the same rock floating around a big ball of fire all together. We need to get our shit straight, because if we don't, we're all gonna
Yeah,
suffer for it.
dude, I fucking love that, and I like how, you know, if you are listening to this, how your mission grew. That's something because first it was like, okay, I want to go back. You had the desire to help people, and that like kind of fueled your ambition, and then you were like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go back and help these monks or whatever. But then, and that was good. That was a normal pursuit. But then it grew bigger, and I feel like on my journey too was the same thing. It was like I went through that nasty divorce. I started a dating coaching company. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to help men with women and get their game right to get their relationships help them be in control and feel like safe in their relationships and be good and have options. And that was good and it helped me evolve a lot. But then it was again like you said, you had a thing of you saw the bigger picture, and I did too, especially when I went
Mm-hmm.
through my
Mm-hmm.
homeless days of like, okay, that's good. They should be good with women. They should know the social game to understand and communicate. It's good to be a good communicator, have influence, know that stuff. But the bigger thing is like men need to have purpose, you know, like what you're talking about, like go
Mm-hmm.
figure out what's that noble pursuit, that bigger thing. And if you do that, paradoxically, it will get you the lifestyle you want, and you'll find the people that want to come join you on that, women and cool guys, and to like build your team, because it's not a
Yeah,
one man army. Like if you study these people, yeah, they're great names, but they always had a team of people behind them, and
absolutely,
that's your
absolutely.
family that you grow with and everything. Um,
Yeah, you have to be willing to build your
right,
tribe, you know, like build your community. Don't just build a
right,
product, you know, because like what is the product meant to do? It's meant to serve
hmm,
someone, right? It's basically you exporting your talent, your knowledge, all your love, and then saying, I know this can help you if you're just willing to
yeah.
try,
So I want to
you know.
ask you. We talked about the biohacking. What made you get
Hmm.
into the healing part of your work? So I find that fascinating. That's what actually I wanted to have you on here, on the show, because there's a lot of guys that come to me. I'm actually focused on like MGTOW. I find the MGTOW community very interesting
Mm-hmm.
because it's guys that are
Hmm.
outside society thinking, which I like. So they're willing to see the world with new ideas and whatnot. So a lot of my
Yes.
thoughts and ideas, they're kind of primed and ready. They just need a direction, where it's like they're not really looking for a purpose, and they're kind of angry at women, which I've gone through that too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can
Right.
heal that because I know, and I've had mentors help me out too. And you actually need to come back to love. And when you realize like men and women actually thrive together, instead of apart, then you can start putting the pieces back together in your life to have that badass lifestyle. But I'm curious to see like what got you into healing, and what do you do with that to help men?
Yeah, so I love that you've actually mentioned the MGTOW stuff, because I kind of had the same reaction when I first found that out myself. So you kind of go through these phases, you know. It's like, but in the end, it's like, you know, a friend told me something that I found very valuable later on. He said, he's like, think of, you know, women or relationships, we'll use as like a cat, right? Like, you can't hate the cat for what it does. Like, when it wants love and attention, it'll come up to you to let you know. And when it doesn't, it won't. But you're not going to get angry at the cat. Like, that's kind of silly, because, like, a cat's going to do what a cat does.
Right.
You know, just like a plant's going to do what a plant does. And, you know, like things just do what they do, and we should kind of accept them, you know? It's kind of like this, I guess you could say, like, this Buddhist form of philosophy where it's non-attachment, right? Like, accept things as they are without the desire to change them. And then that's when you'll see things kind of open up. That's when you'll realize, like, all of a sudden, you know, like, maybe women aren't all bad, you know, like,
Right.
you can't say all women are like that, you know, like, maybe there's certain behaviors and patterns that are repeated.
That is the key, right? Certain
Um,
behaviors and patterns, and then it's like, okay, do I accept these or not? Right? That's a different
right.
thing than just blaming the whole person or sex for something
Right.
that
Exactly.
hurt you.
Yeah. And the same can be applied, you know, to women. Like, I'm sure women say all the time, oh, men always do that. Okay. But, you know, you kind of have to look at it both ways. It's like, we all have these patterns of behavior. Like, do we realize what they are, and do we accept each other, you know, despite them? You know, it's like, and that comes with, like, it's like, you know, non-attachment. Like, I know that one of the biggest parts that makes like MGTOW or like red pill stuff, like, so hurtful, like that makes a man hurt inside, deep inside his heart, is that, you know, it's like we have this desire to want to be attached, right? Like, we want something to hold on to, right? And we think it's this girl, so we, like, put all this pressure on her, but really, that's, you know, you could have all the women in the world and you're still not going to be fulfilled.
And that's,
you know, the fulfillment comes from your vision, your purpose, your drive.
Yeah. And that's not really taught, but you have to come to that conclusion yourself. It's like, you almost have to go through this thing where it's like you go and become good with women. And even if you study men's development, there's a time where, like, notches on the belt is actually a good one. You actually want to rack up some experience so that you know what you're doing, like a general competency. But then, like, either you find that good relationship and happily ever after for you and, like, good for you, or usually what seems to happen is, like, you get your heart broken, but even that's good because then you learn, okay, I can't invest my happiness into what a person that I can't control does, because I can't control them in the end.
Right.
And so it's like, then you have to go through the separation where you separate from women, you know, be your own man, which I think MGTOW does get right. And I like guys that actually choose to do that, because it's ballsy. It's not what society tells you. Society's like, you're single. Is there something wrong with you? You know, like, like, what? Like, you should have a girlfriend right fucking now, and, like, be buying a whole bunch of shit that we sell you. So you've gotten out of that paradigm, and hopefully, and I think that's the missing point that I feel like I can add with Conscious Alpha, is giving them a purpose, or helping them at least start thinking about that. And I think some guys, like, even in my early 20s, and I talk to a lot of guys in their early 20s, I'm like, oh, you're not necessarily meant to have your life purpose figured out, but just start trying shit out, like, you know, like what you're doing with your different research. You know, just start trying, like, going after your passions and study a whole bunch of stuff, because you're going to find something that sticks. And then once you hit like 25 to 30, then you can be like, okay, I want to pursue this. And then also at the same time too, now that you've put yourself and your own development first, now you can come back to women, because they're not on the pedestal anymore. Like, you have gotten your priorities straight, and so now you're a better man for them as well too.
Exactly. And that's a hard pill to swallow, especially when we're young. You know, it's like, you know, the society tells us, oh, you need to find the perfect girl and get married and live happily ever after. Okay, that's that's a Disney fantasy. You know, like, the truth is that, and actually, you can look at all the heroes' tales of old, right? Where there's a boy, and he starts off on this journey, and then, like, you know, he conquers this whatever, this
Dragon.
dragon or this whatever thing that it may be, but it's really an inner representation of, you have to really overcome the darkness within yourself. Why are you being a lazy ass? That's the real darkness there. Why are you not pursuing your own goals versus like you're instead, pursuing like, chasing tail or something. It's like, if you actually focused on your goals, then you would have a life worth living, and then girls will see that and then respond to that. Versus if you just try to chase around girls, they'll run away from you because they're like, oh, who's this loser? Like he clearly has no self-value because he doesn't have his own purpose. Well, it's
you're climbing a ladder, and you can do it that way, but you're always fighting upward. And I didn't like that feeling. It's kind of annoying. Yeah. Some people like the hunt. Like, I don't mind that. Like, it's cool every once in a while going out to the club and causing trouble and shit. But I think the other way, when you focus on the purpose, that's when you actually gain masculine polarity and you actually become attractive.
Yes.
You become attractive. You start attracting people, people realizing, because you gain this weight and polarity to you. And especially when you're going out and researching and looking for your passions and your purpose and going through bullshit at the same time too, you're gaining experience too. That is creating that self authority and that grounded, I forgot the word I used, but it's grounded attraction. You like weights. It's almost like energetic in a certain sense, and you can feel a lot of people too. Like
Absolutely.
If you stand next to like a successful 50-year-old dude or 40-year-old dude, or even a woman who's like a hot ass woman that's like, you can tell that's like she's in her prime and whatnot. There's a certain weight to them compared to like the average person you meet.
Yeah, and that's all a state of their own inner neurology. So, and here's something that I'm not sure if you know about. There's a really good dating coach called Coach.
Okay,
Corey
yeah,
Lane.
I've heard of him. Yeah,
and he basically, before he's willing to work with anyone, he says you need to get this particular type of healing, which is something comparable to what I do, neurohealing. So they have a second coach that helps them get that kind of healing, and then he's willing to coach them, because he knows that there's lots of traumas and fears that most men store within their neurology, like from all those years of rejection, or maybe they were abused or bullied, or whatever it may be, and their body is holding on to that tension. That's why they're not able to be present with the woman.
So
for example.
Let's talk about that for a little bit real quick, just to help our audience that maybe be struggling with some of that. What are some of the most common like neuro what do you call them, like bruises or like wounds, neuro wounds that you find in men?
Typically it's a combination. Mostly it's fear or anger. And so, but the body holds that tension. You can actually, like, if you're trained, you can see you can literally read somebody's mind by feeling where they're holding tension in their body. You can see like where the state of their neurology is in. There's 5 different tension patterns that the body holds.
Okay.
So basically what I do is I see what tension pattern they're in, and I cue the body to release that tension, and then the neurology resets. Okay. It says, "Oh, I'm not in danger. I don't have to fight right now, or I'm not being rejected. I can be chill and calm." And that's, you have to be in that state. You have to be chill and calm if you're going to approach any girl. You can't be tense and expect her to like think that you're cool, because it's this very slight, almost imperceptible way you hold your body, and it's not something you can consciously like, oh, let me just hold my shoulders back or whatever. Like, no, it's even deeper than that. It's like how your neck is arched, like how your eyes are angled towards hers, like, but all those things you don't have to think about consciously, because it's a subconscious thing that's going on. Well,
and here's the thing too, is I think a lot of guys, they get into pickup, they get into like learning body language. Like, a lot of people are like, teach me confident body language, or they want to learn it like a tactic or a skill, but really it's like your natural default is how it should be, but it's not aligned up because you're holding that tension. So it's like you don't have to learn something. It's almost like you have to let go of that holding pattern. And so and guys get it wrong. So that's where I get like, like a lot of us I think we learned that from like the spiritual community, and sometimes people don't get it. And you can use that letting go in several different ways. Sometimes it's just like a mental mindset, or like a situation that that you're lingering on. But it can also mean like a holding pattern, an energetic holding pattern that is tensing you up.
Yep.
And then that is sending out the wrong signals to people. So it's not that you're saying the line wrong or whatnot. It's just that. And then when you realize that neurology, then the game becomes like, okay, you just have to get into the right neurology, and then you're just naturally attractive and confident. It's not that you're the best guy in the fucking room and that you have to
Right.
push everyone down psychologically or anything. It's just like, no, you're at ease with the world and you can handle yourself and you feel good. So even if someone tests you,
Yes.
you do find it humorous because there's no reason for you to get offended. There's not that that holding pattern isn't there and you're not feeling attacked. When that holding the pattern is there and that trauma is there, you're fucking feeling attacked, and you're because the girl is hitting that, like in a game scenario, right? She's hitting that, and you're feeling pain, and so then your fight or flight goes, right? So it's like this whole fucking thing.
Well, I mean, that's why girls use shit tests.
It's almost
like, because how else are they going to know?
I read this in a book one time, and I think it was like a Max Tucker book. He had a dating book, and I didn't like most of it, but the one I think gold nugget I got from it was women are almost doing that to test for positive mental health. If your mental health is off, meaning you have a trauma or you have wounds, you have stuff that you haven't dealt with, or what I call your bullshit or your baggage, she's going to test for that and find that out and be like, oh, why would I want a relationship with this? Whereas like
right, yeah, because at that point it's like, oh, danger, danger signal. This guy might be a little cuckoo. But that might not be the case. Like, you might just be having a bad day, or like you have all this trauma stored subconsciously that you can't consciously deal with that. You do need to seek a healer to clear that, to basically do a neurological reset, and then you're good, and then you can like go learn, pick up and all these things. But it's like you got to start from the foundation, and the foundation really is your neurology. Like, no matter which way you look at it, it all comes down to that. Like, the way I always say is your neurology is the bridge between the physical world and the spiritual world.
Yeah,
so,
I like that.
Meaning, like that. You're, because it's like that's where your soul, quote, would reside.
In neurology.
In the spiritual realm. Exactly. Yeah. So that's why it's like, if you want to be not only successful with women, but also just successful in life, both, no matter what you want, it all comes down to neurology. And that's what all of my years of studying has made me find. It's like, you got to take care of your neurology. That's the number one takeaway. You got to take care of your neurology, because but when you understand it, you understand how it functions, then you can biohack.
That's sweet. Yeah.
You can, if you understand it, you can amplify.
So are there,
and that's,
there normal like habits that you do daily or anything like that to hack your neurology or get your neurology in a certain state for the day? Because I know for me, like, I have like morning success habits and rituals and meditation to put me in a right mindset, and I have like things to switch my state so I can switch on different tasks and whatnot. But like, what is your own personal thing that you use that you find that puts you in a great state every day?
Number one thing, it's the easiest thing to do, is as soon as you wake up and you open your eyes, and at first you might have to like write this down, but then later on it'll become an instinct where as soon as you wake up, you just say, what am I thinking for? What am I grateful for today, right now, in this moment? Yes. And Tony Robbins talks about that all the time. And the reason why that's important is because it triggers your neurology to release certain, hormones and chemicals to put you in a feel good state.
Yeah.
So super important. Super easy to do, but the things that are easy to do are also easy not to do.
You almost remind them, where you're like, is this working? This isn't working.
Yeah.
But that's funny that and I like how you bring the neurology to that it triggers feel good chemicals when you say you feel good. Because the way I explain it is like, it puts you in an abundant state of mind. Well, when you're in abundance, you have feel good chemicals. You feel fucking good. So that's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And then so that's, I do that every day, just like even subconsciously now.
Same.
I do so much
that's awesome.
Stored in my subconscious mind, which is good. That's where you want good habits to live, is in your subconscious mind, not just your conscious mind. Use your conscious mind as a tool to get to the subconscious, because that's when you really know that you know something, is when it's in your subconscious mind. So I do that, and then most of the time, if I'm not like traveling, I'll go for like a run, or I'll ride my bike, just to get because you have to move in order to pump your lymphatic system. So your lymphatic system it's what basically where all your white blood cells are. It's where your immune system resides, and the only way to get that flowing is by movement.
Okay.
There is no other way. So doing that will then put your body in a healthier state. And then another thing that I do, and I've been doing for many, many years, is eating a whole food plant-based diet. And if it's raw, that's even better.
Wow.
But what that does is that it gives your body not only the nutrients like the vitamins, but also the enzymes that it needs that you can't get if you like say cook food, right? So like start off by like a smoothie, which by the way, there are certain foods which I've actually done a talk on called brain foods or neuronutrition, which there's actually foods that are proven to make you smarter. So if you eat those, more likely you're going to be smarter, right? And
omega
the
3
smarter you are.
So I eat a lot of
that
shit
is
with
one of them.
omega-3s.
Yeah,
my body just naturally craves it, or my body will naturally crave things, and it's like whatever it's deficient in. It's kind of interesting, and I can tell I'm like, oh, like my brain is tired, and my body will naturally crave like things with omega-3s in it. It's weird.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the best and cheapest ways to get omega-3s is by eating chia seeds. Or you can actually take like a little supplement of like chia seed oil.
Okay.
That's the best one. And I would recommend that over mercury, because if you get like the fish pills, like the fish oil pills, you're more likely to get like other heavy metal toxins like mercury and aluminum, all sorts of things that are basically going to hurt your neurology. So they're neurotoxins. You don't want that. You want your neurology to be a well-fueled, clean running engine.
Just one step back on your where you go for your jog every morning. I like that because I studied what was it? Tesla used to do 13-mile walks, I think daily. And what he would have is he would have like a problem he was trying to solve on whatever project he was working on. He'd write it down in his journal, and then he would just go for a walk for the day, and it would move his mind around. It would put him in that flow state, kind of take his mind off of it too, where he'd be most likely out in nature, or maybe he'd be in town. And then like, because he was moving, he was getting like that access to that neurology that would solve the problem for him. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's actually another part too. And this goes into the healing that I do, but walking also helps with this aspect as well. So if you look at your sacrum, which is that bone that's right behind you in between your hips, it's actually many bones, but it fuses into one. So that is actually a pumping mechanism. So when that moves, it pumps CSF or cerebrospinal fluid, like clean fluid, into your brain, and it drains out the old. So all the metabolic activity that happened in your brain, it creates waste, right? So if that doesn't get flushed out, you're going to feel brain fog. You're going to feel tired. You know, you're not going to be at your A game. And
so
you
how do you
always
flush that out? You can go for walks is one way, and is there like other ways to flush it out, or?
Walks helps, but the best way is actually by getting neurohealing done, which is what I do. But like if you can't get to me for whatever reason, walking is okay. What I actually do is I actually teach people to store within their subconscious mind ways that they can activate that system long after they've seen me, long after they've gotten like healing from me. Because then you store it subconsciously, so now it becomes a new tool that just happens. You know, it's kind of like when you ride a bike long enough, you just do it subconsciously. It's easy. So I basically give people that skill. That's one of the skills that I give people. Yeah. So then you were asking me more about like what I do. And then of course, like I said, like eating as clean as possible, like go for the organic vegetables. You might think that, it's expensive, but it's even more expensive if you don't reach your full potential. Because think of the millions that you could be making, and now you're choosing to like save a buck by going to McDonald's. Like, no, you're ruining not only your life, but you're actually ruining your bank account. So I would definitely eat clean. And if you need help with that, Dr. Michael Greger, he is so good at giving you that information. Or you can also, his is nutritionfacts.org.
Okay.
And it's totally free. Yeah, absolutely free. He's got really good videos. But I also go even deeper because he looks at just nutrition. I go deeper into nutrition for the brain and for the neurology. So like I took it a step further even than him, because I'm looking for a specific result, and that's to become a genius and to help others do that. So I do that. Meditation, always awesome. Whether you're feeling down or you just need a moment of clarity, like if you feel like your body's starting to tense up, you can go into meditation, and if you have come to my healing retreats, your body can also spontaneously go into this healing mode, which will release those patterns of tension,
when's your next retreat?
Psychologically. So this next one, we're actually going to do two, and we're still variable on the dates, but one of them is going to be in Mexico, and the other one is going to be in Santa Cruz.
Oh yeah, we
so
the
talked locations might change.
Podcast. Yeah, Mexico sounds dope. I might want to check that out.
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah, you should totally come. I think you. This totally,
it sounds like a lot of stuff that I would love learning. So I'm just like, fuck yeah, because I feel like I've kind of felt into this stuff intuitively. But dude, you've mapped this shit out, which is fucking sweet. So yeah, like I want to just go to your workshop and just fill in the missing pieces, like fully like getting your body into healing mode. Like that sounds amazing. That could be so helpful.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can use a lot of. Yeah, and I'm sure you can use a lot of the tools on your clients.
Absolutely.
You know? So and then like I also have another reason why I made AQ is because I wanted to be a hub of healing, right? Because I focus on the biohacking, becoming a genius, but then there's other practitioners that might do things that are like trauma healing, or like how to meditate better, or like all these different things. Yeah. But I've combined them all. It's basically what I do is like how Tony Robbins used to go around and interview a bunch of people like for sports and like success. Healing. I do that for becoming healing dope, and becoming a genius.
Yeah, I like that. Especially too, because I started studying about being an empath, and like with me and like with energy and being aware of energy, and like I was always like, when I was a kid, I was just always super sensitive and whatnot with emotions, and so I started tapping into that. But there's all different types of empaths, and a lot of them are healers. Like I even feel that in myself, like the wounded healer and whatnot. I think that, and I think part of like one of the characteristics of an empath is like you naturally feel the need to like help people and whatnot. So it's like this like kind of new group of people of this like subculture and like the new age thing that like feel like they're put here for a calling to help people in some way. They don't know yet. They don't know how. So it's cool that they like, your company's coming out and being like, hey, like let's make a collaboration of like the different ways. Like that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other thing too is like, like a lot of how you're saying like the the new age type people, like they like to be more into spiritual things, which I love. It's great. However, I feel like there's also a need to include technology because you got to verify. Like I make those things that people think are woo woo, and I'm like, all right, let's put science to this.
I fully back that.
Yeah, like let's measure this. What is going on here? Let's understand this because this is really important. This has shaped humanity for thousands upon thousands of years.
Yeah, and your work is going to help other people in that community because they know it maybe from a spiritualistic or intuitional or philosophical way of why it works, but they don't have like the data to back it up. So if you bring out the data, then it's just like, oh fuck yeah, this proves what I've been trying to do. So yeah.
Yeah, and not just the data too, but like what makes it really real. Like you can look at all the data all day, but when you have the experience, so when you have the data and you have the experience, you're like, okay, I know this is legit. And I can back it up. Like that's real. Yeah, that's real. So yeah, I'm super excited about our retreats. I'm actually gonna do more than just those locations, so that's why I'm hesitant to give out specifics because it depends on whenever people are listening to this. So if they do, like on Instagram, search for @AQ Adaptive Intelligence, or even on LinkedIn or Facebook. What else do we have? Twitter. Like we're building all the social media things, and on YouTube as well. Which I would love to put this on YouTube too for everybody to listen to.
And everyone that is listening, go check out his stuff on YouTube and all the different platforms and subscribe. Make sure to, if you're into this stuff, like be a part of it.
Yeah, if you're into making your life better and making all of the world better, this is definitely your hub. We have a lot of variation.
What is the goal for 2021 for your company?
Well, we're growing a lot and a lot faster than I expected, which is a good thing. So I guess my personal goal is to be able to keep up with the growth. I mean, it's a lot. I've already, even my team is growing, and I'm still like, man, I need more people. So I guess that's my goal, is to find more good-hearted people that are willing to help expand the vision, and and to be able to change the world, because the world needs it, especially now. I mean, look at all the craziness going on. There's never been a better time, and there's never been a better way.
Kanye West says. He's like, give me all the pain, give me all the problems, because he's like, the guy that gets all the pain, all the problems, gets all the solutions, and then you get rewarded for it too. So it's win-win. So that's awesome, man. Where can people find you?
Yeah.
Is there a website they can go to as well, or just on social media?
Yeah, social media is the primary way.
Okay.
We do have a website. I'm trying to remember what it was. It should be, I think we have it on WordPress. So it should be
Okay.
WordPress/AQ Adaptive Intelligence. But if not, just at AQ and pretty much
Which
any of the social medias, or sorry, at AQ Adaptive Intelligence in any of the social medias
which
should pull us
platform
up.
do you generally use or like to use more of?
The main one is we started off
Facebook, yeah.
with Facebook, and then we moved on to
Cool.
Instagram and
Awesome.
all the other ones. But if you click on that, you'll actually get a link to our hub, which has a link to all the other things that we have. So our website, our YouTube, everything. So I put it all together in basically I use the link tree.
Awesome, man. Well,
that
dude,
helps
thanks for coming on the show. You were a wealth of information, and I definitely want to check out your workshop this year. And for guys that are interested too, check it out. Because you know, Gabriel, his work is something that I super support, and I think more guys should be doing. And so, yeah, he needs all the help he can get to blow up his company, because they're on a good mission. We should catch up again, like in maybe like 6 months or so, and like have you on and see where you're at, where your work has gone, what new discoveries and breakthroughs, and I'll do the same.
Yeah, and we'll actually be uploading the video that we did of your interview with AQ as well. So if you guys want to check that out on YouTube as well, that'd be awesome as well. I'm trying to remember the title of it. I believe it was
Seductive Confidence, something on that line. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, let me find it real quick here. Oh, Unwavering Seductive Confidence. So if you guys type in Unwavering Seductive Confidence on YouTube, that video will pop up, and you know, you can give some shout outs to Ricky and give your support to Ricky as well. And so yeah, thank you for having me on, and I love our talks. There's plenty more to talk about.
Absolutely, man. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll talk soon. All right.
Thank you, brother. Likewise. Have a great one. Take care.